Ladies and gentlemen, hello. There are, yes, it's that disembodied voice from the back again. How was your lunch? Wonderful, reasonable. Would you like to give a prac crit on the lunch?
Rocky Road was excellent.
Did you find Rocky Road? There's no Rocky Road out there. Was there Rocky Road out there? When did that come out? No.
There was.
What's your name? Is that Tex? Did you say? Really? John Nolan. John Nolan, if you can go and get me some Rocky Road, I will exchange that for a prize for you. Go on. Yeah, stress ball. I'll give you 2 stress balls. So you've got 2 extra entries in the wine prize. How's that? Okay. Oh, that's rude. I'm not with Channel 7. Actually, I'm not going to be with anyone soon. I'm retiring from TV, I think, soon. I'm going to go and do voiceovers. So if anyone wants a voiceover for hire or wants someone fabulous at their wedding, if any of you decide to get married with your windfall that you're about to make at our investment conference here, or perhaps you'd like to pass away quietly, I will do a lovely story for you. It'll be lots of fun, I can promise you. Right. I was going to wait for a couple more of us to come into the room because Dreadnought is up next and they are one of my favourite companies to listen to present. I love the name of the company. I was introduced to it a couple of years ago. And did you want to, come on up, come. While we're just waiting for my chocolate brownie, Rocky Road brownie to come back. Dean Tuck, everyone, can you make him welcome, please? And before we press open record at the back, tell us what a dreadnought is, because I like this. Because I remember I went and looked it up a couple of years ago. I thought, what is a dreadnought? And originally it's like a mac you can wear, a big coat you can wear to protect yourself against the elements, but it's also...
The Dreadnought was the one of the first heavy, I guess, what we consider battleships, the heavy armor, the big guns. Our chairman is ex-WMC. They had a bit of a thing for battleships, and our main project in Kimberley is on a defense reserve, which was supposed to be used for firing range. And the last remaining dreadnoughts in existence today is the Texas. And I'm a Texan, and I'm pretty sure they honeypotted me into this thing. So
fantastic. I like it. It's really interesting when you come to an event like this, as opposed to just reading a prospectus. You get to meet the people behind the companies and have good chats with them, find out what the pedigree is and what the catalyst was for some of the decisions they make in the company. So Dean Tuck is going to talk to us about Dreadnought. Would you please make him very, very welcome, everyone?
Well, thank you guys for coming to attend today, and thank everyone who's watching online, and of course Canaccord for inviting us down in Vertical Events for another spectacular event. It's a big privilege to be here. Dreadnought, we've been around for 2.5 years now, and we've been presenting for about 1 year. We're highly active, explorer, focused on discovery. As a junior explorer, greenfield sort of work. There's a lot of arm waviness that goes into that, and there's been a lot of arm waving for sure on my side, and nice big arms to wave around, talking about how we're going to do exploration. We're going to get boots on the ground, and we're going to make that discovery, because that's what we're focused on. And I think, as we wrap up this year, the work that we've done going into this year, and where we're about to put out results over the next couple of weeks, and what we're going to deliver next year, it's not just going to be one discovery, it's going to be multiple. And it's a very exciting thing in 2 years to see our company go from 3 mil to 100 mil market cap. And we're only just beginning, and we're really, really looking forward to staying focused on delivering the discoveries across our projects. So it's thank you guys for all of that. Disclaimer, the snapshot, the other thing I like to talk about, we have the most fantastic team could ask for. When you're a discovery focused company, the guys in the field, they love being covered in flies and sweating, and they're doing that right now up in the Kimberley. Because the ability to get the projects done is really the only way to actually make a discovery. And our guys are out there sacrificing right now to deliver that program before the wet season kicks in. They had their first lightning storms, and they're delivering that drill program as we speak. And that's not the end of the year for us, because we have the other 2 projects we'll be going down to before Christmas. Board and management, we own 19% of the company. We've put in 1.3 million of our cold hard cash. So I like to point out, we are very strongly aligned with shareholders. As the MD, driving the share price up, I'm not going to cash out. We're here to crystallize value. We're here to deliver for our shareholders, because we're shareholders ourselves. And so we know it's your money. We know it's our money. We're here to do what we say we're going to do. And hopefully the discoveries come with it, and they're starting to. We have three main projects in the Kimberley, is what we're mainly floated on. Kimberley, you're lucky to get 6 to 9 months of work out of the year. So we always wanted to have continuous news flow for the market. And so we have the Illawarra project and Mangaroon sitting there in the background. Mangaroon is quite a new project for us. We only picked it up about a year ago, all vacant ground. We pegged about 4.5, 5,000 square kilometers. And it's really outperformed for us. So been some rare earth success out there. We already have a joint venture with First Quantum, who's free carrying us to decision to mine on the back of some nickel, copper, and pentlandite that's sticking out of the ground at surface. And so is the rare earths next door to Hastings. So if you love Hastings, we're right next door. And I think the work over the next couple of months will show that we have the other half and perhaps more, seeing how we go. So strategy and performance, like I said, we're discovery, front of the Lassonde curve. We're here to find something, create something from nothing, deliver that resource. Success for us, De Grey, Sirius, De Grusso. We're here to make those discoveries, and that's what we're aiming for. So that's our threshold of our definition of success. We do that by maintaining a very strong pipeline of targets and work. And as you'll see on the bottom there, next year is going to be essentially nonstop drilling. We just raised $8 million. With that $8 million, we'll be delivering a lot of drill programs, a lot of discovery focused and a lot of resource focused drilling. So you'll start to see, pick your commodity. You know, commodity collector tends to be a bit of a joke on some things, but we are a discovery focused company. We are there to look and find what we have. And we have certainly done that across our projects. So start off with Taraji Yampi, where we're currently drilling right now, off limits since 1978. First mover opportunity, get on there. Last person to do exploration, Roy Woodall himself, 1958, straight out of uni. Over 50% of the discoveries in Australia have been made since this ground was off limits. You don't get opportunities like this very often in Australia. That's what got me on board. That's what got Dreadnought into existence. And as we're seeing this year, we're delivering our first discovery on that undercover, and there's going to be more to come. Taraji Yampi. So we started off with abundant outcropping veins of copper and gold and cobalt and arsenic and bismuth and all these sorts of things. And we looked at that early on and gone, these veins are fantastic. They're sticking out of the ground. It looks like Mount Isa. It looks like Tennant Creek. So what's undercover? You know, you have these big veins that are going to vector into something. We've been sampling those veins and seeing where we're going. And this year, we hit our first hole into Orion, 12 meters of massive sulfide from 44 meters. We then had to leave site very quickly for a defense exercise. And so we sit there, second to last hole of the program. We've hit 12 meters of massive sulfide at 44 meters depth and gone, well, is this it? Is this, is this the one shot we got lucky on, or is this thing actually hold together? And we've been up there drilling for the last month. We're up to hole 50. We put out, the first 8 holes we drilled chasing this thing up dip, down dip, and a long strike. 6 of them hit massive sulfide. Again, 10, 15, 20 meters of massive sulfide. We're chasing up that supergene. We're chasing this thing down to depth. We should be wrapping up that program shortly. Our first round of assays should be out in the next week or two, and the second round of assays from the other 30, 40 holes that we've drilled will be out in the next, hopefully by the end of November. So it's very, very exciting for the guys on site. After they drilled the 10th hole of massive sulfide or whatever it was, they sat there and it hit them that these young guys, they've been busting their butts for us for the last couple of years, and they're onto something real. And you can't ask for much more than that when you do exploration. Sorry, I get a bit emotional thinking about it, but to see that sulfide come out of the ground and to see it keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, very, very excited to see these results and provide these results to the market. But that's not all we got. That's not just Orion. I say that's just the first target we've hit undercover. Fuso, Grants, there's lots of other copper up there. We've just finished flying a mag survey over Yamping, which is 3/4 of the project area. And there's going to be more targets there. So next year, you're going to see us test more targets, find more friends to Orion, as well as put out a resource on Orion. So we've tested the extent of this program, see what we can actually get with the RC for depth. So we'll be able to have a very clear program and be operationally set to deliver that resource next year in the time frame we have available. We're also going to drill some of these fun things like Rough Triangle, 1.3 kilometer long vein sticking out of the ground, discovered and mapped by WMC in 1958, never assayed, collected the first few rock chips on that thing and had some bonanza grades of silver, copper, bismuth, and antimony. If you come by the booth, there's actually a rock there that's almost pure cuprite, 84% copper, 141 grams per ton silver. Most of the stuff was mined out 100 years ago, and it's still sitting here sticking out of the ground. So there's a lot more to come from Illawarra in addition to the resource work on Orion. At Mangaroon, this is the Outperform project that's really come out from nowhere this year. I guess one of the main things is we pegged this ground for nickel and the gold. You know, the pastoralists up here since 1960s, 1950s have done all the exploration. Not many mining companies, has a long hated history for the wrong reasons. And that's one of the things that we love, seeing the history, meeting with the pastoralists and see what was actually done, what have they seen. And we've already found outcropping pentlandites and chalcopyrite and that money intrusion, which got First Quantum in on board, 15 mil spend to get 51% and then free carry the decision to mine. They're looking for high tenor. We're currently doing EM surveys over that. And we didn't peg this ground for the rare earths, you know, but we had some young geos, very, very keen to do this sort of thing. They saw that we are next door to Hastings Yangibana project. And the guys wanted to go out and see, does this thing extend beyond the Lions River fault? The government surveys and the academics all said it stopped at the fault. So the guys did some real basic exploration, do the thorium map and the magnetics, look for the outcropping ironstones as they kind of stand out. Went out and kicked over yen and ended up delivering us over 11% rock chip, which is actually sitting on our desk as well. We went out there, followed that up. Rare earths can be quite a dangerous minefield, if you will. So we wanted to de-risk this thing as quick as possible. Thankfully, Hastings has been next door to us doing this work for the last 10 years. So Chappie and I hiked out there, loaded up 60 to 80 kilos of rock on our back, carried it out 2.5 Ks so we could send it off for met test work. Tenement's not even granted, and we've already produced a concentrate and proved that this thing can produce a monazite concentrate. And there's a plant being built by Linus and Kalgoorlie. Aluka's looking at bringing back Inyaba, and Hastings is next door, and they're all open to third-party concentrate. So this will be a very, very interesting project. We'll be drilling this thing March next year. Heritage survey is going on this month. And we will, as Hastings did, put out resources as we drill. We got the scale, we got the grade, and we just, I guess the other thing to talk about on that is we've currently 85% of the way through an airborne magnetic survey over that entire area. I'm fairly confident that we are going to find more of these ironstones. We're going to continue to show scale. We're going to continue to extend the extent of their occurrences. And if we're really lucky, the stretch target here is where's the plug, where's the carbonatite. We have the high grade veins. Where's the big mothership? Where are they coming from? In that mag survey, it will hopefully light something up. They'll give us hope on that. So we'll see us move very, very quickly on this as we already have. And First Quantum doing a fantastic job with us here. They've done mapping along the entire 50 strike kilometers of that money intrusion. They found a hotspot of sulfide, high tenor sulfide, including over 1 kilometer long Gossamer horizon of immobilized sulfides of Pukathana, all centered around a sedimentary basin that's faulted in contact. So it's a nice sulfur source if you want to go into the nickel sulfides of these things. And we're currently doing a 12 kilometer long ground EM survey. And that's going to be running over the next 6 to 8 weeks. The crew's out there on the ground as we speak and lighting through that. And that's going to be very, very exciting to see what comes up from that. And no matter what, First Quantum's committed to drilling this thing next year. So we're really excited to drill this and the rare earths and a little bit of the gold at Mangaroon first thing next year. Between now and then, we still have a Lara. So Lara greenstone belt we picked up off of Newmont, as a lot of greenstone belts in the gold fields do. Has a lot of different commodities that are available for your picking. And as we've done work on Alara, we've continued to find more and more red dirt, you know, just next door to us. Beautiful work by Alex, just found, did that beautiful pegmatite at Mount Ida. And, you know, last year we got a nice signature in the lithium, cesium, tantalum pegmatites down at Peggy Sue. And we've confirmed high-grade tantalum down there. That was just a smash and grab exercise while we were drilling the gold to see if it was real. We know that's real. We'll be out there in December, Jan, probably February next year before we get back up to Mangaroon, chasing that up. So we have some very exciting things there in the background for when we're not in Kimberley and we're not in the Mangaroon project. We'll be out in the gold fields chasing this. So I guess the takeaway message, been up here for the last year, existing for 2 years, promising boots on the ground, making discoveries, putting that money in the ground, and we're getting there, and we're having some very big success. And over the next 12 months, you're going to see us putting out resources in a range of commodities that the world is requiring and asking us to find for them. And I've built a team, and we have the support of a fantastic board that knows still out there, knows what it takes to get out there and make these discoveries. So as long as the world keeps asking us for commodities, my team will be able to deliver. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Tuck. And just when Mark does take down Fortress Western Australia, possibly after Christmas, if you would all like to wear one of these Dreadnought Resources masks to fend off what's coming from the east as well. They're free. They're over there. There you go. They're actually very nice quality. Did you hand make these yourself? Did you have a little group of you out the back hand making them? I had another question for you without notice. Was that picture at the end, was that you in your modelling pose going towards your helicopter? Oh, and I would have been taking all the credit for that. That was a fabulous photo. Now, do you know what? Never say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be horribly sexist. Never send a man to do a woman's work. It wasn't hard. I asked nicely. I said, excuse me. Some bloke out there has told me about these. Would anyone like to sample one? Because there's actually 2 trays outside. No? Would you like to sample one, anyone? No, you've already had one in your bugger. That's not... All right. There you go, Andrew. Okay. Is that one, Jim? Okay. All right, Jim. We'll come up. Jeffrey, you may have one. There you go. Ashley Johns, you okay at the back there? Not feeling faint? You don't need some more sugar? All right. Well, we're talking gold next. So I know how excited you get about gold. So you might want a bit of energy for this one. We are. We're not up north, though. We're coming a little bit further south. Paul Bennett, where are you in the spotlight over there? You want to come up and join us, sir? So Paul Bennett is the MD for our next company, Medallion Metals. They're a gold and copper explorer, and they've got a portfolio of very high-quality assets located in our southern goldfields here in Western Australia. Hello, sir. I haven't had a chance to say hello to you today. But you're going to tell us a little bit more about your portfolio of assets, what you're doing, and how it could actually be an asset to our investment portfolios. Would you please make him very welcome, everyone?
Thanks, Chrissy, and thanks to Vertical Events and Canaccord and all the other sponsors that have helped arrange today. And thanks for everyone who's in attendance to hear the Medallion story. We're a newly listed gold and copper explorer. We've got a portfolio of high quality advanced assets in the southern goldfields of WA, and it's our aim to build the project resources to 1.5 million ounces and beyond. And this presentation is an overview of what the Medallion team's doing to make that aim a reality. The presentation's up on the ASX platform. It's a general update. It's not an offer. It's not an advice. I encourage you to read the notices when you can. The CP statements are in the appendices. So we're competing for capital, we're competing for attention with a host of other gold explorers, both on the ASX and elsewhere. And I think these points, when taken together, are what set us apart from many of our peers. So first and foremost, this is a district scale opportunity in a tier 1 jurisdiction. We've got 40 kilometres of prospective stratigraphy that's known to host the ore bodies we're looking for. The assets are located 550 kilometres from Perth. And the project, excuse me, I just need to start again there. So we've got a district scale opportunity here. It's in a tier 1 jurisdiction. We're very close to Perth. The access, the infrastructure is outstanding. The community supportive. It's got a long association with the sector that stretches back for over a century. We've got an established high-grade gold resource. It's got a significant copper credit. It's shallowly drilled. It's open along strike. It's open at depth. We are expanding that resource quickly as the drill program unfolds. The asset's de-risked. We're on granted mining tenements. We're cleared from a heritage perspective. We've advanced the permits substantially, and we've completed a feasibility study on the Ravensthorpe Gold Project that demonstrates it'll produce high margin ounces, and we think that's a compelling argument to go and look for more of them. We're well funded, we're active, we've got a 30,000 metre drill program underway to test that resource, to expand the resource and test the regional opportunity. And we're doing all of this with a view to building a long life, low cost gold business in Ravensthorpe. Now, there's a long way to go to get to that point from where we are now, but the internal threshold that we've set for ourselves in the first instance is to achieve that critical mass of 1.5 million ounces. Now, the logic there is that half of that converts to mine plan. That's 700,000 to 800,000 ounces in reserve. That's 100,000 ounces per annum of production, which we think is a bankable project in WA in this market. And we're very confident that the ground that we hold can sustain that metal endowment. Here's the corporate overview. We raised $12.5 million at the IPO in March. The shares were issued at 25 cents a piece. They came with an attaching half option. It's important to note those options, when they're in the money, they do have a material impact on the capital structure. At 30 June, we had almost $9 million of cash. The quarterly will be out tomorrow, along with the guidance we provided in June. We'll have gotten through approximately $3 million over the interim. We have a loan obligation to our major shareholder of $4 million. It's only repayable on a change of control event or if we make a decision to build a project at Ravensthorpe. The leadership team, those names will be familiar to people who know the resources sector in WA. The bios are in the appendices to the presentation. I won't go through them here, but suffice to say, we've assembled the requisite skills and experience to lead the company through the growth phase it's going through at the moment. We've got a market cap of about $38 million. If you adjust for the cash, the listed investment in Nickel Search and the debt, that backs out an enterprise value of approximately 30. Basis our current resource estimate, that's an EV per resource ounce of $44. Across the whole spectrum of ASX listed explorers, that's probably par for the course. But if we look at a more select group, and by select I mean ASX listed principal asset in WA, principal asset gold, then we start to look more attractive from a valuation point of view. We hate being down this end of the curve. It's extremely frustrating, but we can't grizzle about it. We just get on with delivering good results into the market and reinforcing and building confidence that we're going to achieve that threshold level of gold endowment to support a development at Ravensthorpe at some time. And as that becomes apparent, we think we'll move to the left of this curve. And if you lever an increasing resource base on an increasing EV resource multiple, then it becomes attractive from a valuation point of view. We're absolutely focused on the Ravensthorpe Gold Project. We have a dominant land holding in the Phillips River mineral field, and critical to that is the Annabelle volcanics, which are around the periphery of the Ravensthorpe tonalite. It's these rocks that have hosted all of the historic production, and they are host to the existing resources and the known prospects. There's been approximately 130,000 ounces of gold and 20,000 tonnes of copper metal produced from this area from 3 clusters of mines: at Ravensthorpe in the north, down at Alverton on the eastern flank of the belt, and then at the Cundip Mining Centre at the southern end of the field where the Archean rocks dip beneath the Proterozoic. We've got a 32,000 metre drill program underway at Ravensthorpe at the moment. 2,000 metres is going to the base metal project to the south, which I'll just touch on briefly later, and 30,000 metres here on the gold and the copper opportunity. There's 4,000 metres that are going into the regional targets at Meridian, Old Greg and Ariel. These are earlier stage targets, but potentially higher impact, because if we demonstrate there's another mineralised system separate to Cundip, then it confirms the prospectivity of the field. We released the first results from the Meridian prospect last week. The highlight there was 5 metres at 11.4 grams, but just as important is the fact that of the 11 holes that we drilled, 9 of them had anomalous gold and sulfides in the hole. So we're confident the Meridian is going to mature and become another front for us to begin adding resources to the inventory. The vast majority of the work, the effort, the drilling, the expenditure will go on at the Cundip Mining Centre, where the existing resources have been estimated. And this is where we expect the bulk of the resource growth to come from. So this is Cundip, zooming in on Cundip. We think that the project value, and by direct extension, the company's value, is massively leveraged to increases in the resource base that lead to increases in the mine plan. So that's all about finding economic ounces. We've got a 674,000 ounce resource estimated at Cundip at present. 80% of it's in the indicated category. 92% of it is within 200 metres of surface. All of the lodes are open along strike. All of the lodes are open at depth. The average drilling in the database is 85 metres below surface. The deepest hole we've got at present is 300 metres below surface. So shallowly drilled for an Archean gold lode. There's an aggressive extensional program underway here. It's stepping out off the known data points and demonstrating that these structures are open and continuous for long distances. So we're approximately 21,000 metres through that program at this point in time. Observe the scale bar at the bottom of the map. This field's open, or the strike length of the system's approximately 2.5 kilometres from north to south, as we currently understand it. And the drills are moving from north to south through the Gem Restored prospect, through Kaelin, and they're now currently at Harbour View. All of the results above 10 gram metres are annotated on this slide. These are the high grades that are driving the economics of the project. We expect that when we finish the drill program, we'll commence a re-estimate of the resources. That'll be completed in the March quarter of 2022. Most of the drilling is outside the known resource, and a significant portion of it is diamond drilling, and this is leading to a step change improvement in our understanding of the geology at Cundup, and it'll provide the platform upon which we launch the next drill program, which will have both extensional and infill components to it. Here we go. This is Cundup again in the vertical dimension. You're looking at a long section facing west. Again, note the scale bar at the bottom of the slide, 2.5 kilometres of strike length as we currently understand it. It's open to the north and it's open to the south. Again, the drills are moving through. They're currently at Harbour View. This is where some of the most spectacular intersections historically have been recorded from the project. So we're very keen to see what comes off the drill in coming weeks. When it's finished at Harbour View, down to Flag, and then we'll begin to focus on the near mine targets. These lodes are orthogonal to one another. They're projected to intersect. There's a paucity of data in those areas, so we'll test that. There's substantial historical workings that don't have any drilling beneath them will go there, and there's also some geophysical targets that came about as a result of a SAM survey that we undertook earlier in the year. So if you think about the 75,000 ounces of production that has historically come from this block, the 674,000 ounces of resource, the near mine targets, the historical resources that have never been updated to JORC 2012 compliance, you can pretty quickly map out a pathway to 1 million ounces of endowment here, all within 300 metres of surface and all within a 1.5 kilometre radius of where you might put a processing plant if a development was to go ahead. In terms of depth potential, the current resource, the ounce per vertical metre profile, peaks at 5,100 metres below surface. That's where the data density is at its greatest. We're adding data both along strike and at depth. So if that ounce per vertical metre profile can be maintained from surface to a depth of 500 metres, then this area starts to get really interesting in terms of its scale and significance. It's a great address with great potential. I want to draw an analogy at this point in time. We think there are many similarities between Ravensthorpe and Silver Lake's Deflector project, specifically as it relates to the mineralogy and more generally as it relates to scale. Now, Silver Lake has done an outstanding job demonstrating to the market the value of this asset, and it just seems to get better over time. Depending on whose research you read, the component value of Deflector inside the Silver Lake portfolio could be as much as $1 billion. So that's the size of the opportunity, notwithstanding there's a long way to go to get to that point. The photo on the left is a photo from an underground development heading at Deflector taken in 2020, and below it is some core that was recovered from Cundup just a few weeks ago from the Gem Restored prospect. Very similar host rocks, very similar mineralogy. We've engaged GR Engineering to assist us with the metallurgy here at Ravensthorpe. They built the Deflector project and they just recently completed the enhancements there to put the leach circuit on the back end. We expect that Ravensthorpe will eventually have a very similar process route to Deflector, almost identical. I've also graphed the resources at Ravensthorpe at present on the right-hand side of the slide, and then there's Deflector as it stood in 2016, very similar in terms of overall magnitude, but a larger portion in the measured category. That was the basis of the development decision for Deflector, and then in the subsequent 5 years, they've just gone to shoot the lights out. 430,000 ounces of gold production, a significant amount of copper. They've more than replaced resources, they've more than replaced reserves, and they've generated a significant cash surplus out of this asset. So that is the kind of outcome that we are striving to replicate. I'm running short on time, so I'll glide over the top of the corporate initiatives. We bought back a royalty over Ravensthorpe earlier in the year. This was to increase the exposure of our shareholders to the upside on the regional opportunity. We've divested the nickel grounds into Nickel Search. It listed on the ASX last week, raised $10 million. That was often either overlooked or viewed as a liability associated with the Rav8 project. It was a $2 million liability on the balance sheet. It's now a $3 million look-through asset value with tons of upside. And then there's the Jerta Cut-Up project. It's over half of our tenement package. These sediments are known to host SEDEX deposits. SEDEX deposits cluster. They contribute to 50% of the world's lead and zinc reserves. We think this bedrock opportunity hasn't really properly been tested. We need to get this out on its own, with its own management team, its own balance sheet to take it to the next level. So I'll wrap it up at that point. We think Medallion represents a compelling opportunity for investors who are looking for exposure to advanced gold and copper exploration in WA. The business is well run. It's attractively priced relative to its peers. We own assets with great potential in a tier 1 jurisdiction. The resource is growing every day as the drill program unfolds. The regional exploration opportunity is going to be tested over coming weeks and months, and all of this will generate a pipeline of positive news flow that continues to reinforce that message and build confidence that we're headed toward a critical mass of resources that will support a development at Ravensthorpe in the future. Thanks for your time.
Nicely timed, sir, Paul Bennett. Oh, you're hard up there?
Well, I thought the clicker,
Yeah.
perhaps I would have got a bit of a credit for it
Sorry,
not
mate,
moving
sorry.
over. No.
You got a little bit of sweat happening on the top lip there. I know you had lots of important information to share with us. As our next presenter makes his way to the stage, these little balls. Who has one? Who's got a ball? Hey, please put your hands up if you do have a ball. One of these white balls, no other type of ball. All right. Okay, rally, heads up. All right. So now what I'd like you to do between now and the next couple of presenters is, if you haven't got one, you need to scan these in, because at 3:30, I play hockey. I don't throw balls. You're about to see this very well. What you need to do is you've already got a prize, so it doesn't really matter. Just throw them out there. Okay, so you need to scan these. No, I told you I'm an absolute dud. Come and get your there.
Look out.
What can I say? I'll keep throwing them out every now and then. But what we've got, I think I Riley's head there. I'll come and bring them to you in a minute. So what we've got is we need to draw that at 3:30, but to do that, you need to scan in the QR code. So please scan in your QR code. I'll bring them up the back in a minute, because I need to introduce you to this very serious gentleman down the front here, Aidan Platel, Auroch Minerals. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Now, Auroch is exploring for zinc, copper, base metals and nickel in the Goldfields region, again here in Western Australia. Presenting for Auroch Minerals today is the Managing Director, Aidan. Would you please make him very welcome? Thank you, sir, for putting up with my shenanigans.
No. Yeah, thanks, Christy, and good afternoon, everyone. Here to give a very brief overview of Auroch Minerals and our very exciting portfolio of high-grade nickel sulphide assets in Western Australia. In particular, our current drill program, where we're going into the Nepean Deeps target area and looking for those down-dip extensions to known high-grade nickel sulphide mineralisation underneath the old historic Nepean nickel mine. So what are we all about? Well, we're committed to delivering over 100,000 tonnes of contained nickel in resource, and we have a very clear strategy and a pathway forward to achieving this. We're very strategically positioned in a tier 1 jurisdiction near world-class mining facilities and obviously known deposits and processing operations. We have a JORC 12 resource of over 21,000 tonnes of contained nickel at a very high grade 2%. And in addition to that, we have two historic JORC 4 resources. On the basis of those existing resources, we've kicked off scoping studies. And so we have those scoping studies, and with that revised resource estimates due early next year. In the shorter term, we obviously have a very high impact, exciting drilling program going on into that Nepean Deeps area, targeting quite significant downhole EM conductors, which I'll get into. And we have a good, strong cash position. So we're very well funded to push forward with these aggressive exploration programs and studies. So a quick overview of our corporate snapshot before I get stuck into things. Around about a 55 mil market cap at the moment, but the big news on this slide is what we announced this morning. We've just successfully raised $8 million in a very heavily oversubscribed placement. So that really brings our cash position up to around about that $10 million. In addition to that, we have underwritten options which expire in November. So in the next 6 weeks, we'll receive a further $1.1 million. So very well funded to really get stuck into those explorations, crank up the exploration with second rigs and really push forward on the exploration front and those study fronts, and perhaps, towards future development and possible production. Over the last sort of 12 to 18 months, we've really fleshed out our board and management team, and now we're well positioned. We've got a really strong, experienced nickel sulphide focused team to really push these projects forward. Location is everything, all the more so in this current environment with COVID-19. So we're obviously very strategically positioned in the Norseman Lunar Greenstone Belt, obviously a tier 1 jurisdiction with some of the best nickel sulfide deposits globally and enormous exploration potential for those new nickel sulfide discoveries with those existing deposits, that existing infrastructure. So there's 5 existing processing plants within trucking distance of all of our projects. 3 of those are owned by BHP, and we have an offtake at Staines with BHP. So it really does lend itself to a potential relatively quick timeline to that future production and development. This is a quick snapshot of our portfolio, very exciting portfolio. I'll get into the details as we go through the presentation. But what it does summarise is really that criteria we have for all 3 of our Western Australian nickel sulfide projects. As I said, all Kambalda style komatitic nickel sulfide deposits in that Norseman Lunar Greenstone Belt. They all have existing resources, existing shallow high-grade resources. So something really tangible that we can build upon and something that can lend itself to that early production. And obviously all 3 have some really significant high potential exploration targets. So really good ground and exciting targets to make those new nickel sulfide discoveries. So looking first at our Nepean nickel project, quite an iconic project, being the second operating nickel sulfide mine in Australia. Operating from 1970 to 1987, it produced over 32,000 tonnes of nickel at a very high grade, 3%. We can really see huge potential to build quite a significant nickel sulfide resource inventory at Nepean in its own right, and that's through 3 main focus areas. Obviously, there's the Nepean Deeps, those potential down plunge extensions beneath the historic Nepean nickel mine. There's the historic mine area itself. There's a remnant resource around the mine area, and in particular, some very high grade, very shallow mineralisation there. And then obviously there's that regional exploration where we have 10 kilometres of very fertile, high potential, very underexplored sequence of the Nepean ultramafics. So looking first at that Nepean Deeps target area, this is a like-for-like long section with Flying Fox, but having the pegmatites involved drew an immediate analogy for us to Western Area's Flying Fox, which I'm sure you all know the story, but effectively Outokumpu back in the day mined about 8,000 tonnes of nickel before hitting a flat-lying granite sill and stopped. Western Areas picked it up in 2003, and through more modern techniques, the downhole EM and drilling, they worked out where that nickel sulfide mineralisation continued beneath the granite sill. And as you can see there, they've mined well over 1,200 metres vertical and well over 100,000 tonnes of nickel there. So a great success story that we're looking to emulate at Nepean. Obviously, you can see there in that long section of Nepean, it was about 500 metres at its deepest, several pegmatites cross-cutting all the way through that mine sequence, and sure enough, the nickel sulfides continued below those pegmatites until it hit that larger pegmatite at the base of the old mine. 87 nickel price was around 4,000 US a tonne, so saw a premature end to the mine itself. But the key takeaway here is that those pegmatites are a much later geological feature. So the nickel sulfide channel, if you like, was in place a long time before those pegmatites intruded and cut across. So there's no logical reason why that mineralisation won't continue down beneath that pegmatite. And that really does lend itself to being quite an exciting, very high potential target for significant nickel sulfide resource. So we're underway into our deeps program. We've completed the first hole, very successful hole, down to a very deep 1,291 metres. First drill hole to ever drill beneath that basal pegmatite in the old mine, and very successful in that we intersected over 78 metres of komatitic ultramafics over 4 units, which correspond to the 4 ultramafic units you see in the mine stratigraphy. So a very successful hole. We've got the right host rocks there. Now it's a case of vectoring in onto those massive sulfides. So we've completed our geophysics, downhole geophysics. We did downhole EM, downhole MMR, and very successfully lit up 3 strong conductors. All 3 correlate to the known ultramafic units there that we intersected in the hole, and hence all 3 represent pretty exciting drill targets for potential nickel sulfide mineralisation. It's very slow, controlled drilling, making sure we're hitting the targets. The second drill hole is underway. We're targeting that uppermost conductor, that 1A, 1B conductor you can see there. So we're about 50 metres down, target depth around about 600 metres, and end of hole will go to 800 metres. So certainly should finish that hole in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and looking forward to updating the market when we go through that target area. The second main focus area obviously is that remnant resource in the historic mine area, and in particular that shallow resource. You can see there some of our fantastic drilling results from earlier this year, some very thick, very high-grade nickel copper sulfides from less than 50 metres from surface. So what we've effectively done, joining that crown pillar with some of that new mineralisation to the south, is that we have a strike of about 500 metres of one, often two sub-parallel lenses, up to 6 metres thick each lens, very high-grade nickel sulfides within that top 100 metres. So it really does lend itself to a potential open pit scenario. And we've started a scoping study, internal scoping study, partnering up with P1 Australasia to look at exactly that scenario and perhaps generate some early production and early but significant cash flow in an open pit scenario, and then looking obviously at the subsequent underground mining scenario there. Key part of that study obviously is metallurgical test work, being an open pit and being so close to surface. We've just completed 3 diamond holes into that pit area. And so now we have those met samples to make composite samples and kick off that metallurgical test work. And the third main focus area obviously at Nepean is that regional exploration. We've gone pretty hard at it. There's 10 kilometres of aeromag anomalies extending north and south of the old mine. We've done RC drilling, we've done air core drilling, we've done diamond drilling, moving loop EM surveys, downhole EM surveys. And effectively what we've got is all the right ingredients. We've seen very fertile ultramafic flows the whole 10 kilometres. We've seen disseminated nickel sulfides on that basal contact, and we've got downhole plates. So we've generated some pretty exciting new targets that need following up on. So all the right ingredients, and we're looking forward to getting stuck into that in the next drilling campaign on that regional front. And as a side to, I guess, the nickel, certainly have a lot of potential there for gold and lithium as well, which we are looking at as a side to our main game of the nickel sulfides. Moving on to our Saints nickel project, that's our most advanced, being a JORC 12 compliant resource, our largest resource of over 21,000 tonnes of contained nickel at a high grade 2%. Great resource in its own right. And again, we've kicked off a scoping study to look at that development and potential production. But it's really about the exploration still and finding that feeder channel, that basal channel mineralisation that really could grow that resource quite significantly, aka Mincor's Cassini resource, Cassini deposit. So we are looking for that feeder channel as well as progressing those studies. So we do have a 2,000 metre program plan for that extensional drilling at Saints. Looking at our Leinster project, as the name suggests, up around Leinster, again, you can see that very thick, very high-grade nickel copper sulfides from less than 120 metres from surface. So again, that shallow, high-grade mineralisation to start with. That's that area known as the Horn. And again, very similar to the Nepean story, it's really a very prospective aeromag anomaly extending north and south of the known mineralisation that was really very, very underexplored historically. Again, we've got stuck into it in what we've called the Woodwind prospect, which is the one adjacent to the Horn, completed RC drilling, geophysics, downhole EM, diamond drilling. And again, we're seeing very thick, fertile, ultramafic flows, so the right host rocks. We've seen disseminated nickel sulfides, we've seen stringer nickel sulfides. So we're getting all the right ingredients again, and we've got, again, some downhole EM plates and some geochem targets that really warrant follow-up drilling. Importantly, the disseminated nickel sulfides at our Leinster project is the recognised texture, that what they've called cloud mineralisation, and you see cloud mineralisation at Rocky's Reward, at Waterloo, at Perseverance. So all the big known deposits around Leinster have this cloud mineralisation very proximal, so within 15 metres of the massive nickel sulfide ore. So we're getting pretty excited that we're getting pretty close to something significant, and again, that exciting follow-up drilling campaign that we've planned for this quarter and into next quarter. In South Australia, we have 3 base metals projects looking at copper and zinc mineralisation, SEDEX and IOCG targets. In particular, at our Arden zinc copper project, we have a very high-grade zinc target called Raglas Range, which we drilled some very thick, very high-grade mineralisation in 2018. We've done some geophysics since, and we've identified a very strong anomaly extending over 3.5 kilometres long. So we're kicking off diamond drilling program, 1,000 metre program this week into that target. Obviously, due to the scale and the grade, that's something pretty potential, quite a compelling drill target. So we're getting stuck into that this week, as well as continuing on with ongoing systematic surface sampling for the copper potential. So looking ahead, obviously a very busy quarter and into the next quarter, but really underpinned by that ongoing high impact deeps program, the diamond drilling and the PN deeps, and obviously the internal scoping studies we've kicked off at Nepean and Saints. But having said that, there are those very high priority targets that need to be drilled. South Australia kicking off, Leinster and Saints as well, and the ongoing geophysical and geochemical work. So now that we've got the funds, we're looking to source a second rig and really push those programs forward and accelerate our exploration. Just quickly, I won't get stuck into this, but obviously we're very bullish on nickel. It's at a great place at the moment, well over $19,000 a tonne, and forecasted to go significantly higher as that forecasted surplus has quickly turned into a forecasted deficit. In addition to those traditional stainless steel markets, it's obviously the electric vehicle battery market that's driving particularly that class 1 nickel demand that you get from nickel sulfide ores. So it's really, as the Biden administration and other governments are really pushing their agenda with the EVs, it's really taking on quite quickly and building a solid demand for that class 1 product. And obviously we're well leveraged to that. We've positioned ourselves well for that growing demand of class 1 nickel sulfides, class 1 nickel products, that growing demand, the growing nickel price, and obviously it's all about the EVs. So you need to be able to do that in a sustainable manner. And in that sense, we've set up our ESG strategy and really intend to be part of that BHP network and feed that EV market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aidan. I'm getting a bit concerned about you blokes with this tremor in your voice towards the end of the presentations. I'm feeling I should stay further away from you. We've got only a couple more presentations to go, so just a few more opportunities of places that you may like to be investing your money in the future. We're going mining with one of them, and the other one we're going back into sort of health and well-being. So first up, we will go... Actually, we're not mining as such, we are in a way, but Talga. Has everyone been outside and had a look at Talga's stand in the exhibitors hall? Did you have a look at the big black orb that's there and the black car as well? I found that absolutely fascinating that I could connect things up and just power them. I asked if I could have my whole kitchen bench that way. Apparently that would be slightly cost prohibitive unless I make some good money investing yesterday and today. This big fella here is going to tell you more about it. Mark Thompson is his name. He is the MD for Talga. Now, Talga is a clean technology company. They're building a green European source of graphite battery anodes and graphene additives, and they've got a vertically integrated graphite mine to anode operation based in northern Sweden. So I'd say you'd have a lot of chocolate sent your way. Would that be correct?
Alcohol, usually. But
possibly.
Thank you for that kind introduction and the pause that, yeah, exactly. We certainly are part of a thematic that's been big today on the disruptive impact of batteries on demand for all sorts of materials. We actually have got a story today I'd like to share with you, a very short summary of the company and what we're doing about that. Other than the difference being that we're fully vertically integrated. So we've gone all the way downstream. So our customers are actually the battery makers themselves, and we capture the entire value chain of that process. That's what's a little bit different. So our mission is essentially one of climate technology. It is to use minerals in the most cleanest and efficient way, but to make products that are cleaner than exist currently. So with anodes, we're talking about graphite, and I'll introduce you to graphite in a second, but just to point out that all of the graphite in your batteries, currently in your phones and your laptops and your EVs now, comes from a supply chain that has significant issues, and Talga moved into graphite quite early to specifically to address those. For those of you today that haven't heard anything about graphite, here is a cross-section of a battery at a sort of atomic level. And on the right, you've got the cathode with all of the raw materials, the different elements you've heard about mostly today. Very few people talk much these days of that the other half of the battery is all graphite. The graphite does a special job. When you charge a battery, you're actually pushing power in between the individual atomically thin layers of graphite on the anode side. So an anode is a specially engineered form of graphite. It's not all graphite but can become anode, but a lot of anode is made of graphite. And then when you use it, the power is coming back out of the graphite. When you push the ions in, the graphite actually swells about 10%, which is a very small amount compared to everything else. Graphite is a non-metal, so you can't just put it through a heat process to try and purify it. There are many different ways of purifying it to get into this shape, but the making of graphite into anode is a very complex business. So what's changed? Well, graphite, frankly, has been around for 400 years in industrial purposes. And what's happening is you've got a brand new demand that's arisen in electric vehicles. And electric vehicles, of course, are impacting on batteries, lithium-ion batteries. Now, lithium-ion batteries have only been with us. Rechargeable batteries using lithium have only been around for about 40 years. And graphite is a component of all of those. Today, all of the gigafactories that you may read about around the world all use graphite, but in the anodes. So it's currently the most dominant and will be the most dominant form for a long time. So this demand is causing a real disruption. In the world of anode, there is a requirement for about 9 million tonnes of anode for the batteries we see by 2040. And you can see where we are in 21 is we're just on the start of the uptick of that. Now, we're on the sort of end of the hockey stick, as it were. It's been coming for a long time, but now it's really starting to bite. Natural graphite has got benefits over synthetic. It's lower in CO2. It can be lower cost. It's got other things that are good and bad. So it's a complex world in anodes compared to just metals. It's more about the morphology or the shape of the particles. But graphite will continue to be far and far away the most economic blend of performance and price and volume needed for the market. So what are we doing about it? Well, we actually took a pretty early stance on this. I founded the company in 2010 and moved us into graphite for EV anodes in 2011. We did a global search for deposits and found this amazing place in Sweden, which today is still the highest grade graphite resource in the world under a JORC or NI 43 conditions. We did go through a stage where the batteries were not at that time going as fast as we wanted, and we discovered a breakthrough way of making graphene, which is a fantastic nanomaterial, and we started commercializing that. To commercialize nanomaterials, you need your own scientists, you need your own labs, you need sales, and you need commercial interfacing with your customers on a technical front. So we established that, and then we announced our first major battery anode product in 2018 at the European Battery Show, and since then things have really taken off for us. Because of our prior investments in graphene, we had already essentially were used to dealing with groups like BASF or Bosch and interfacing directly with a customer. So in battery anodes, we've taken the same approach, which is to be vertically integrated. Recently, we finished the DFS on the maiden initial stage of the project, and today we have over 48 customer battery programs underway, which include most of the world's major automotives and far away the majority of the world's battery makers. And we interact with all of them definitively. This resource is not only the highest grade resource in the world, it's also the largest in Europe. It's all based in North Sweden. So just to recap that, so graphite anodes make up 40 to 50% of the volume of all lithium-ion batteries going forward. So there's just nothing you can do about it. Recently, we published a Hitachi life cycle assessment showing we produce about 5% of the emissions of the existing material you're using today in anodes, or the equivalent of 2.9 tonnes of CO2 per car that gets made without anode versus using existing anodes. And this is all data that's been published on the ASX. So what we're building is the initial stage of the project, which isn't the whole company. The company makes all sorts of things, but the initial anode project is to have an integrated graphite mine with a downstream anode refinery. By refinery, meaning it produces coated anode ready to sell directly to a battery manufacturer. This location in Luleå on the right in northern Sweden is about 1 hour's drive from the nearest gigafactory, and we can drive directly our material within 48 hours into all of the major battery manufacturers of Western Europe. So there's no shipping actually required. At the anode refinery, we have the greenest anode in the world, proven to date. It's all fed by hydropower, extremely low cost. It's about 1/8 of the cost of the power around here, for example, and it's fed by the world's highest grade graphite. So it gives you an amazing performance in many aspects. Up at the graphite mine itself, the high grade and the amazingly high anode yields with the amount of anode we make per tonne, which of course is the main interest for batteries rather than just industrial minerals, means that we have to move very, very few tonnes to make the amount of material for the battery compared to others. In fact, compared to a lot of incumbent producers, we are 10 times more productive per tonne. And so this is the most responsible and most efficient way to look at resources. the mine there will also be backfilled as we're mining it. So essentially it gets rehabilitated during the process of the operation. So let's talk about what shareholders would like to know, which is how much money do we make? Well, that part of the project is worth $1 billion NPV, does about $200 million a year in gross revenue. And the current outlook is that we have demand for 3 to 10 times what our planned production is. So we're looking at expansion options. The expansion option is about 5 times the size. It's called the Niska expansion. We've done a scoping study on it. So before we even get into the initial production, we have to expand production by at least 5 times. We probably, in my opinion, will need to look at more. Again, the market is going so fast and booming so big. That project has an NPV of about $3.5 billion. So for those of you wondering why a company today here is the 450 million market cap, why are they worth it? Well, the projects combined, just in their initial stages, are at over $4 billion in NPV, and this is in the world's fastest growing market. And I need to point out that this is based on about 10% of our resource base and about 1 to 2% of our exploration targets. I mentioned the CO2 emissions. Responsibly extracted natural graphite is becoming the boom product in the anode space. There is synthetic graphite is made from petroleum waste or coal-based, and it often uses very poor quality processes to make it. We also, of course, are going to be the first anode producer in Europe, so we have massive advantages there with everyone. The difference also with materials like anode is that you have to build the anode for the customers to test, which takes many years. It's almost like an aerospace quality qualification process to go through with compared to for cars, for the vehicle market. So you have to actually create production before you can essentially get all your offtakes. They have to test the material extensively at scale. They eventually want to write down the name of the guy pushing the buttons and the serial numbers on the pumps. It's an extremely detailed and difficult process to go through, and we are doing it. We've already been scaling up multiple times, and we're building an electric vehicle anode plant in North Sweden to produce the customer size samples we need for next year. That's all going on track at the moment. We have actually been mining already. Again, contrary to popular opinion, it is possible to get things done in Sweden, including digging holes. We trial mined about 5,000 tonnes of material in 2015 and 2016, and we've just completed our 2021 campaign to take material which we go and concentrate and then do our shaping, coating processes and put out to the material out to the customers to gather the big orders that are part of that supply chain I told you about, and we're very excited to be doing that in a very responsible way, rehabilitating the site. We'll open it up and do it bigger next year. So the permission we do have for this site at the moment is for about a quarter of our commercial scale production, and we are hoping to get full scale permits for next year to go into full scale production. At the same time, we have to look to the future to how big this needs to be as the market is growing so fast and the demand is there. So we've recently completed some exploration again. Frankly, it's been great to restart exploration as far as there's been many years where the markets have been in the doldrums and you haven't really been able to afford to do it. But now we're back on site drilling and we have found a new deposit, which is quite significant. We think called Nordensfara East there where the arrow is. It's something that we didn't really rate before, but the new EM surveys have shown it's far more contiguous than we thought. It's got outcrops going up to 36% on it, which is about 50% higher in graphite content than the main resource, and it's very similar in shape and width in some ways to our other resources nearby, and that's very close to the concentrator. In fact, we might have to wiggle the concentrator around a little bit. So that's going to be an extremely low-cost development option in future. Here is just a graph showing what the current numbers are on the studies. You saw as the yellow, the ore reserve. That is what drove the DFS. The areas in red are our currently defined JORC resources. You can see that we have only drilled some select areas, and the area in blue are the exploration targets derived from drilling, historic mines, geophysics, and surface sampling. So they're not just made up shapes. We have rejected a lot of material as well, and this is what we see as the potential for this project is to essentially be amongst the largest as well as far and away the highest grade, which means you have the most amount of anode available to you. clicker's gone dead through. Let's see. It'll probably jump ahead now, won't it? Here we go. Anode. This is what it looks like when you make it. On the right is the active coated material that we've given to we're running through a pilot plant facility, pouring the anode. This is for a quite renowned sports car maker who wants us to make the actual cells on with their other cathode chemistry, and we make the anode, put it together, and it goes out for testing. Probably one of the main things that's been underway at the moment, and why we've been a bit quiet recently, is that we're deep in project financing discussions. We have a public LOI with LKAB and Mitsui. LKAB is the state mining arm, and they and Mitsui are looking at joint venturing into the project, which obviously would have project financing parts to it. And we're also canvassing other parties as well. And that LOI expires at the end of next month. And all I can say at the moment is that discussions are progressing on track, as we've said previously, and we can't change anything about that at the moment. So I better go on. The EVA plant is under construction, and that's fully funded. Drilling results come in next month. Silicon and our other products continue to grow, currently being tested by a lot of really exciting automotive and 3C customers, meaning things like phones and laptops, things like that. And we also have processes underway at the moment to sell our other materials. Just something on the company. I'm actually still the largest shareholder. We are Kinetic, a fund out of Melbourne, and a bunch of other pretty interesting people and most of the stock. We've now got actually closer to, between 11 and 12,000 shareholders, which is quite a lot. $50 million in the bank as of last quarter. Market capitalization, as you can see there, but only about 300 million shares. Sort of proud of that. Some people in the business know that's pretty hard to do if you've been around for 10 years through the most of those markets. And just for probably a possibly scary thing, I'll leave you with this unfortunate photo of me in shorts, but with a slightly version of the ball, of which you were all admiring earlier. So this is our graphite ore from the ground that's been just carved up with a 5-head CNC type machine. And it's just really to people in the industry, when they see this, and they can see the ore is really special. We have then special processes to turn into special anodes. So I don't want you to think it's just about mining. We're really an anode company, but we are very proud of this special source and what we've been able to do with it. And as you can see, we have operations all around the world already that integrate with our customers. If there's any time for questions, I'd love to. Otherwise, here it is at the booth afterwards. We'll stay around. Thanks.
I wouldn't usually give anyone a question, but since I'm feeling rather generous, it's towards the end. Craig, anything you'd like to ask? No? Anyone at the back? Any questions you'd like to ask? Wait, we're coming back to Justin. Yes, sir.
Silicon technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So the silicon anode, so the way we make it is we're very focused on making it extremely commercial. So it's a very large volume production process we've chosen to work with very commercial equipment. We produce a product that's around 30 to 50% silicon content mixed with the graphite. The graphite is a mixture of graphene and graphite, shall we say. And then you use that as an additive. So it's a drop-in. It's designed to be a drop-in solution, so you can blend that into whatever you want. So if you want to have a 5% blend, well, you'd get our stuff and mix it in by at a ratio of 6:1, something like that. So it's still in development. It's being tested by major companies around the world. It is going to have a very bright future. We'll have separate feasibility studies and things like that on it. But the thing with silicon is the more you put in, the less the life of the battery. So there's a whole range of silicon companies making various claims. We focus on the most commercial and low-cost things. We also work with, because we work directly with the battery makers, we understand the problems of real production. For example, a lot of silicon technologies have got very complex shapes. And when they go through the calendaring process, which is where they roll it they put it under a lot of pressure, those things break down. So you can get a lovely number in the lab and you go down to, name your favorite battery maker and they go, oh, it broke. What's wrong? So there's all these really significant challenges to overcome, but you add silicon, you get more energy density. Second thing with that is Ford and GM, I shouldn't know names, lots of companies, they're not targeting double or 3 times the battery life. They're not media junkies, right? They want their car to go currently from, say, 360 kilometers to 500 kilometers. So they only need enough to do that. So it's more of a target-based approach at the right cost, at the right volume. And that's another part of our business that's scaling up. We don't talk about it much because, as you can hear, we could do a 6-hour workshop just on silicon. But it is our particular technology is very, very commercial, very practical way of playing a big role in that field going forward.
And that is time. Thank you. Would you put your hands together for Mark, please, and Talga? How much was that very large ball worth at the end there? Prices. Okay, prices. Definitely not my kitchen bench. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right, our final speaker today. It's not as per your program. So the company is still the same. We're still looking at nutritional growth solutions. We're still going to hear about the nutritional supplement formula for children that's been developed following 20 years of medical research by Israel's largest and most prestigious pediatric hospital. But due to some technical difficulties that we've had connecting into Israel today, Liron cannot host this next session for us. So instead, Brian has very kindly agreed to step into the role at the last moment. He will be giving the presentation for us. So would you please put your hands together for non-executive chair, Brian Liron. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Chrissy. It's wonderful to be up here again. And this is my third company presentation, but I have 3 companies, and this is one of my favorites, and it's a really exciting one. I wanted to I'll just give you a quick snapshot in terms of the corporate overview. We're only listed about 18 months ago. It's been a good listing. We recently did a capital raise. We've got a strong cash balance, and we've got an excellent board, as Chrissy just mentioned. So it's an Israeli company, and it's actually listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. It's sort of like an Israeli technology company, really, in many ways. And it's a very exciting one. And I'm going to tell you why now. I should have just show you the board there. Obviously, I'm the chairman of the company, and Liron's based in Tel Aviv, as are the other directors, with the exception of Anton, who is on the board of Neuroscientific Biopharmaceuticals, and I was also the chairman of that company until fairly recently. I was the founding chairman of that for 4 years. Let me start off with a little caption that I like to use. I go to the East Coast, at least I used to, very frequently for conferences and so forth. And of course, I'm tarnished with the same brush that all WA companies are tarnished with, which is, you must be a mining company. But there's a saying in mining, and I love this one, and that's don't ruin a good mining tenement by drilling it. And it's so true, because you might kill the golden goose. I mean, that piece of land, that topography looks very similar to a hill located somewhere else that found a lot of gold. So there must be a lot of gold in this hill. And people go and invest in that. You'd be surprised when the gold price is high that people throw money at anything. But if you actually find there's no gold, well, then you've killed the golden goose. And for a lot of companies, they tend to go slow on the drilling program. And the same thing can be said in healthcare. You can have biotechnology companies with an interesting story, a drug that might potentially be a cure for cancer, maybe, or a whole bunch of different illnesses. But if you actually go and spend the money and do the clinical trials, you might find that it doesn't work. Now, that could definitely be said of the nutraceutical space. If you look at the nutraceutical companies in the world, and some of the ones like Blackmores and Nature's Own and Swiss, they've got lots of products on the shelves, but I think by and large, I'm not sure if any of them have actually been clinically tested. And yet they can make a lot of claims. And they can make these claims because the product is safe. We can't call them drugs. So they're not going to be, it's obviously got to be not harmful to you. But for example, red krill oil. Have you ever seen ads for red krill oil? It's good for your circulation. It's good for your heart. It's good for this. But they've never done the clinical trials on any of that. And yet they can make all these sort of loose claims. Now, what got me interested in Healthy Height as a brand for the company, Nutritional Growth Solutions, is that they've got products that has an amazing claim. And the claim is that if you've got a child that is shorter, so therefore, let's say in the clinical study we did, they were in the lowest quartile of growth. They said that if you take this product every day, your child will grow taller faster than if you had a placebo. And my first reaction to this, excuse my French, was bullshit, right? That was my first, and I said, no way. But in fact, it's true. And so these are the products that we have that all have this claim. And this is the basis of it. So they actually did the study, which blew me away. They did 200 kids. They were all in the lowest quartile of growth from birth. These are going to be shorter kids. And if you look at them, the blue line is actually that one there. That's the one that they had the product on. Now, for the first 6 months compared to the placebo, you can see that they grew on average 30% taller over that period than the kids that were taking the placebo. And then the kids who were on the placebo then started taking the Healthy Heights every day. And over that 12-month period, you can see that their lines start to merge. So that's what's the basis of this product. It actually works, and they've done the clinical study. I'm quite confident that Healthy Heights could be a big brand around the world based purely on the fact that, or on the statement that we believe that this product's going to make your child grow taller. Now, the biggest question I get asked is this going to make the child grow taller over the long term? And the answer to that question is, I don't know that. All I know is that the study was conducted at the top pediatric hospital in Israel called the Schneider's Institute. And this result right here shows that the kids grew on average 30% taller than the children taking placebo. Now, what's in this thing? It's actually nothing particularly fancy. What it is a reflection of the modern diet. If you look back 50 or 100 years ago, we didn't have the McDonald's of the world, and they weren't going there, once or twice a week, and Coca-Cola and chocolate bars and all these things going on. This product provides the stuff that the kids need to optimize their growth. And the parents that are giving this stuff to the children are actually benefiting dramatically. And this product is generating revenues, and significant revenues. It's based in Tel Aviv. It's an Israeli-American company. It just so happens that I grabbed onto it and thought, this is a fantastic story. I've got to float this on the Australian Stock Exchange and share it. And that's what I'm doing today. So as I mentioned, it's uniquely scientifically formulated, which is a big point of differentiation from everything else in the nutraceutical space. It's patented, it's marketed, they've got great branding, we've got new products coming out on the market, and we've got growing sales channels as well. So we've already achieved a whole bunch of successes since our IPO in October 2020. So we're really just at 12 months old. This first announcement here with Chemist Warehouse, I mean, when Liron told me that Chemist Warehouse was going to stock our product in China, are you kidding me? Wow. I mean, that's just, for me, it was like something that I talked about from the time the company was created. Like, wouldn't it be great to be able to get into the companies like Chemist Warehouse? So they've already started supplying it only just now. This has only recently been announced. We are mostly selling the product online through e-commerce platforms. We've now decided from moving production for the Chinese market, which is obviously a big growth market for us, we're going to make that manufactured in New Zealand. I did want to do it in Australia, but then with that whole political mess that went on, we thought, I think we've got to have to change strategy here. So production is going to commence in New Zealand, which is obviously very friendly with the Chinese government now. Yes, so they're going to start manufacturing in New Zealand. That's going to start by the end of the calendar year, which is, or at least first quarter of next year. And then that's going to really grow our sales expectations in China. And we're launching new products. We just started selling in Italy. We had a $550,000 US purchase order straight away. So this thing is really starting to take off. If you look at the growth in terms of sales, in the first 3 quarters of this year alone, we've already surpassed all the year's sales from the previous year. So the growth is going. So if you're going to invest in this company, you're investing not so much in a clinical research company. We've done our clinical trials by and large. You're investing in a company that's now kicking revenue goals. And ultimately, let me tell you what my exit strategy is. And I'm a big shareholder in this company. I'd love to see us acquired by the likes of, say, a Nestle. They're the biggest nutraceutical company in terms of they're into multiple things, but to have a product like ours, and then they look at it and say, well, you know, they're doing all these wonderful things. We could take that on and then kick goals through our distribution networks. That's what these big companies look for. That would be my exit. I'd be very keen and happy to sell to them if that should happen one day. So we've got a large and growing opportunity. We fall into that 3 to 12-year-old space. This is not a crowded space. Predominantly, they're all about infants, you know, infant baby milk formula. We know that sells like hotcakes in China, but what about 3 to 12-year-olds? That's not a crowded space at all. So that's the space that we're in, and it's a big, big market opportunity. Now, how do I know this product is good? The Israelis did a deal with GlaxoSmithKline, which is now called Unilever, for their Horlicks brand, and they sold the rights to this formula they exclusively had to Horlicks or GlaxoSmithKline for 15 million Australian dollars. And that was for India, only India. Now, this product is available right now across literally tens of thousands of stores across India. So that's it's an exceptional product. We don't own the rights to that, but we own the rights to everything else in all other regions. So we've got a growing portfolio of products. We've got now shakes and proteins and snack bars. I want to build something big so that the likes of Nestle can one day come along and say, yeah, we'll take that on. We've made some key appointments. So obviously the Chinese market is very focused for us. So we have these 3 new key hires. It's all about moving into the Chinese market. We haven't even made our first sale in China yet. All the sales that we've done to date have been exclusive of China. So hopefully going forward, we will see that coming into the bottom line. So expanding sales channels and geographies. We're not just selling through online platforms like Amazon, Tmall Global, and so forth. We're actually moving into physical shelves through that Chinese deal with Chemist Warehouse. We've got IMCO in the United States, the largest private pharmacy distributor. China's I've already talked about. We've just done a deal with TikTok e-commerce and JD.com and Shopee. So these are all things that are just happening. We only announced that only a few days ago. Europe is another big market that we're going into, you can see with Italy. And then finally, our 3-pillar growth strategy, we're just getting started. We've got the products, we're moving into new territories like China, and we're expanding through new sales channels. And that's the company. I appreciate that you've had a listen to me once again. And I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate Vertical Events for having me again. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you put your hands together, please? Well done. Since you're so happy to be here and you're so good behind the microphone, because you've done it 3 times, can you just stay there for a 4th? Would you mind?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, I'm going to ask Adam. Adam, would you mind coming up the front? I think we've given you a microphone. So Adam, most of you will know he's one of the partners at BDO, and they, of course, have partnered with us for this event as one of our sponsors. Don't look so trepidatious. Is that a real word, or I've kind of made that one up? You can have your, that's nice. Okay. All right, so boys, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Wait, you can do that, yeah? You're God.
Stewie, I don't think anything's going to help you. But, you know, the reality is if we got onto it early when you were a toddler, I reckon we might have made you 6 foot tall.
All right, you boys, serious questions. So Adam, let's start with you. First of all, on behalf of Vertical Events, thank you very much for coming on board with us for this. We really appreciate it. Now, there's been a little bit, there's actually been a lot of activity in the new listings. Are you able to elaborate on that, give us a bit more details in the resources sort of sector?
Sure. I guess, you know, if you look at this year to October in the calendar year, there's been more listings this year than the last 2 years combined. So I think we're up to about 125 as at the 1st of October, and that's probably, you know, there's probably a dozen or more since that date. We're probably getting about 3 or 4 out this week. We also worked on a follow-up raise for New Century that went out this morning. So Canaccord was busy working on that, as was I. Good to see that they got it out after last night. So they've done a good job on that. But it's been a phenomenal year. We're running at rates that are pre-GFC levels. Probably not seeing as much gold as we thought we would see. Gold tends to seem to be the M&A play at the moment. So certainly seeing a bit of an uptick in M&A activity in the gold play. we're seeing plenty of movement towards copper. We're certainly seeing interest in lithium, etc. So all of those things that are future-looking metals. If you look back at the key themes we heard about yesterday, that's the sort of things that are starting to come to market now.
Okay, megatrends. Thanks for that, Matt. Brian, how about in the IPO, in the biotech field? Have you seen the same sort of movement?
There's been a lot more biotechs that have come out in Australia, but what I'm really proud of is how many biotechs or healthcare companies that have come out of WA. When I became chairman of Oz Biotech, which is the Industry Association of Biotechnology Companies, I was chairman for 5 years, but I hadn't been chairman for, I think, about 3. In fact, we've got the current chairman, Sam South, sitting at the back of the room. There she is with her hand up. She was on my committee as well for many years, but I was very much about wanting to get biotech like a hub. Like, do you remember Peter Beattie, the Premier of Queensland? And he was Mr. Biotech. He wanted to make Queensland a biotech hub. And that's why Brisbane and Gold Coast today have many biotechnology companies, including one of my own, ResApp Health, is now based in Brisbane. So I want to create Perth as a biotech hub. Well, Bustleton, now I'm getting here, but certainly let's call it WA as a biotech hub. And I think that we've certainly achieved that. There's been so many new companies. I've listed probably 3 companies in the last 3 years that are all in the healthcare space, all founded in WA.
Isn't Curtin doing a lot towards that as well at the moment?
Well, you've got the Curtin Tech Park, and that's where a lot of the stuff that people like me, I'm a biotech entrepreneur, and I look for opportunities to license technologies typically from universities. I think with the exception of NGS, they've all come out of university research. So I'm looking to exploit an opportunity. I look at it and say, is it promotable? That's my first thing. Is there something about this that I think that I can get up there and talk about and maybe get some people interested in it? And then you've got to raise money, and raising money ain't easy. But if the story's good, and maybe if you could tell it well and you can raise money, then you're off to the races, and then it's up to the company to hopefully kick goals and make strong returns. That'll keep investors coming back.
Brian, would it be fair to say that, we've been fairly proud about our talent in mining natural resources? We're seen as a leader in the world for that space. Do you think we probably sort of haven't really put the spotlight on some of the researchers we've got in WA, what's going on at Telethon Kids Institute, Perkins Institute? We've actually probably got a lot of talent that we've probably been a bit modest about. Would you think that would be fair to say?
Well, sure. I mean, my name is Brian Leedman, and the people might know that Charles Perkins Institute is led by my cousin, Professor Peter Leedman. So I come from a long line of doctors and people, although I'm not a doctor myself, but we've got great talent and great resources. And can I tell you a quick story? Do you remember when Colin Barnett was Premier? I was chairman of Oz Biotech back then, and I was asked to have an audience at his palace in West Perth. And he had about, I think, 10 people sitting across that table and only me on the other side. And he is also the Minister for Science. And he asked me, what's this biotech thing you keep harping on about? And I told him about it, and he said, I just don't get biotech. And I said, but Colin, you're the Minister for Health or Minister for Science. We're a mining state and always will be. So I got nowhere with him. Roger Cook, on the other hand, I went to Israel with him almost 2 years ago now, on a trade mission, and I was part of that delegation, and it was fantastic. And I can tell that this government is much more interested in exploiting the natural, or the physical resources that we have in this state, which are, as you say, world-class. Perkins Institute, Curtin, UWA, the hospitals, it's amazing.
Adam, have you got anything to add to it to wrap us up today?
Look, I think, the important thing at the moment is trying to figure out what to do. How do you actually allocate your funds? And it's really good to come to something like this where you get to hear it firsthand, hear the stories, hear the passion, as well as get the insight from, the Canaccord research teams. So you can see what those themes are and then allocate across some of the different companies, for what's right for your personal circumstances. So, it's great to see an event like this take off, and really looking forward to coming back next year, that's for sure.
You might want to book early for that, because if Colin does open up Fortress Australia, the great thing, one of the reasons that we've chosen Bustleton, aside from the fact that it's a great location, is that we can have people flying straight in from the eastern states too. So that's the aim of making this a really big investment event. So if you can tell 10 or 20 people for next year to come along, we would love to see them. We'd love to have them. And of course, we'll make movements to make sure we have the correct, or even better, size facilities, etc. As the time goes on, I'm looking at Jackson. Jackson's going, man, we have 450 this year. If we could potentially make this 800, 900 people, which would be fantastic.
Absolutely, particularly with people flying in from the East Coast. And then I guess just to wrap up, on behalf of Stewie, all of the sponsors, thank you so much, Chrissy. You've made this a fantastic conference. I think your voice is perfect for the Southwest and should be a fixture for the conference going forward.
I'd like to come back. Thank you. It's very kind. You're only clapping, Justin, because you won something. That doesn't count. I was actually thinking about the words that I've actually learned this last couple of days, or the things I've learned. Investor megatrends. I really loved the discussions with Canaccord. They've been really insightful. But the one that I hadn't heard of before was that. Do you remember soup to nuts? Had you all heard that before? I'd never heard of that before. So soup to nuts, investor megatrends, investor euphoria, it's all been here. And some solid investment opportunities along the way. Guys, would you like to sit in the audience? Because I'm going to draw the prizes now. And if you want to be one of the people that could be one of the winners, you can't be up here with me. I'm going to start with our one from the fabulous Lockie. Now, you all met Lockie yesterday. So he is the man behind the branding, behind this fabulous digital presence that we've got. So as I said to you, he usually works or mainly works with ASX brand management. But if you are here on a sea change and you've got a little side gig that you're thinking needs some help branding, etc., he's fantastic. So please look him up. Coup is the name of his company, COUP. So what I'm going to do, you've all done the writing, you've all scan the Q code, yes? So it's going to be too late once I open up the website. You've all done it? Justin, yes? Great. Okay. So I'm going to open up the website because this is his instructions to me. Google Chrome, in we go. All right. So this is the website and this is the door prize. So we're going to start with the first one. Jackson, can you give me a hand with this one? Because I can't quite get into it. Sorry, man. Just tap dance amongst yourselves for a small moment while you can, ladies and gentlemen. Brett Smith, Corazon. Ah. Now, he's lucky because you were trying to get out of here and go home, weren't you? Actually, we're going to take 50% because I think some of my... Do you really want this present? You can go home and we're happy to redraw it, aren't we? Jeff down the front here is very happy. You're going to come down and get it and show how excited you might be. So this is a year's worth of wine. It's valued at $1,000. It's from the Talisman Investors and Wine Club. So that's one of the... This is a purely ceremonial bottle. You don't get this one. That's mine. Okay, but this is the prize is in here. And every 3 months you'll get some bottles delivered to you at home to enjoy. And we'll all pop over and talk investing with you. Good on you. Well done. And good luck there. Okay, so that is our first winner. Right. We've still got many other opportunities, don't we? We've got some wine in front of me. So now I'll open up my next little email down here and we'll see how our next winner is. Prize draws this Arvo. So let us ask, first to the stage, please. I would like to ask Lithium Energy. We have a Arobi tool set and bag, proudly colour coordinated with their company logo, no less. William Johnson, would you like to come up the front, sir? Is William in the room? He's walking very slowly because he doesn't want to get rid of the power tools. He wants them to himself. Is this correct? You've changed your mind now. All right. Now, you are the only, or actually there's one other company that said, and you're so much kinder than I, because I did say yesterday that if you weren't in the room, too bad, so sad, you miss out.
That's right. Now, before you start, Chrissy, some people have put business cards in here and some have folded up bits of paper. So I thought to be fair, all right, if you take out one bit of folded paper, one business card, then I'll flip a coin in my pocket. And if it's heads, we award it to the business card. If it's tails, to the folded paper. Okay.
Jeez, you're making it difficult for me. It's the end of the day, isn't it? Look at it. Linda, do you want to come and draw this? Go on. You sure? No? Okay. Too late, Rolly. You've missed out. I was like, all right, one card. One card. I'm not allowed to look because this is a really big piece of paper. Okay. So just put them on the ground. So this is A, this is B. A, B, A, B. Heads for the card. Tails for the paper. Heads. Okay. Card. All right. And our winner, this is just ridiculous. Okay. This young fella won earlier today, but he wasn't in the room. So I don't know if he's in the room at the moment. But Jed Penkenham, drone photography. Jed, are you with us? Someone find Jed. I'm going to give him 22 seconds to make it into the room. Otherwise, he's going to miss out. Jed, 5. Oh, he's here. Oh, so you can have it. There you go. Well done, Jed.
Congratulations, Jed. Well done. You'll make good use of these.
Oh, yeah. Going to become a carpenter now, I reckon. New career.
Jed, how old exactly are you, mate?
Oh, I'm 18, but let's pretend I'm 24. I'm too young to be here, but no, I'm loving it. It's a really good experience, loving the opportunity. It's been great.
Well done. Okay.
Can you take a photograph of me and Jed?
I would love to take a photograph of the two of you. Yeah, actually, I have Jackson here, the premium photographer, since Jed is usually a photographer. Let's get. You want me? Why do you trust me to do it, Jess? You can tap dance then and entertain people. All right. Hold it up. Let's make the product there. So what do you reckon 18-year-old Jed's going to make? What's his first thing he's going to do with that bit of hardware there? Right, Gavin?
Home maintenance. Home maintenance. Home maintenance. He's going to discharge.
Oh, sorry, he's going to discharge the battery. Fair. Quite possibly. Quite possibly. All right, you take your fishbowl with you, and I'll pop these two back in there so you've got everyone's things. Congratulations to everyone in our first draw. Well done, young Jed. As in impressive. Obviously meant to be, mate, because you missed out on that other prize today. All right, Musgraves. I've got a bottle of red wine. Rob War from Musgrave is going to come onto the stage and help me to draw said wine. Do you have a little, all right. Tell us about your wine. Let's hear about your wine. Has it got a special story?
Franklin River, a lovely wine from down here in the region.
Have you sampled said wine before?
No, but I'm hoping to win.
No, that's not going to happen. All right, wait. All right, do you want to put your hand in and do it? Okay, let's go. Drum roll. I do it. Drum roll. Okay, here we go. Bloody Jed, turn you away. Okay, what is that? Who has a card that dark? An accountant. An accountant.
Tony Ward.
Tony Ward, are you here? Tony Ward. All right, Tony. So, Tony, you are an accountant and a lifestyle engineer. What does a lifestyle engineer do, Tony?
It tries to help people out if they're in trouble. A lot of people come down here and love the lifestyle and try and buy themselves a job often. Doesn't work. They don't know what to do. And yeah, that's what I used to do. I'm retired for 21 years now.
And it's working well for you. You're down yelling up and now you've got a bottle of wine to enjoy. All right, and I like your card too. Very flash and black. Have you enjoyed the conference?
I have, thank you.
We'll get a photo of you two guys. How about we get a photo of you two guys together? Come on back, Tony. Get a photo of Tony. What's happened here? Beautiful. Okay. All right. Next cab off the rank is WA Colon. WA Colon. I say that wrong every time, don't I? We have Chivas Regal 18 gold signature Scotch whiskey. Andrew Sorensen. Come on down, sir. Right. Winner must be present. Winner must be present. Anything you'd like to say about your Scotch whiskey?
It's a lovely drop.
Is this come from your house?
I've got one just like it at home, yeah.
Okay, fabulous. All right, let's see. Who likes Scotch whiskey? Anyone? All right, okay, let's see what we can do for you. It is a fella. It is a fella whose name starts with J. John Harding. John Harding. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. Okay, here we go. Okay, what he doesn't know won't hurt him. All right, this person is from Morgan's. It's a fella, Scott Fraser. Love it. There's another gone. Fabulous. You and I could be drinking this bottle as well. I know this is going really well for us. Oh, Jai He Gawa. Deputy General Manager, Mineral and Metal Resources and Energy Developer from Mitsui & Co. I love the card. This is great. These are the people we won't invite back next year because they left early, Jackson, okay? We'll keep their names at the very start next year. I'll welcome them back. Wait, he wants to say something. Let's go over the microphone.
I know it's Andrew's prize, but majority of the people that are still here are retiree investors that probably didn't have a business card. So therefore, and they could be highly influential into Andrew's next capital raise as new shareholders. So maybe he asks a question about his presentation. If anyone can answer it correctly, of the investors that are here, they can win the prize. But they've got to buy some shares in his company.
Yeah, that's a bit tricky. Okay. All right. We've got one last one. And now everyone keep that thought to themselves because you may have to act on that. Robert Waugh, Managing Director of Musgraves. Are you here? Rob Waugh, are you here? Oh, you're here. That's amazing. So we've switched you out. So you get to do a swap. Is that okay with you? You could have worked something quiet and sneaky with him for the other one, for this, the other. All right, boys. Jackson, can you get a photo of those guys together? Thanks. That's very funny. Reckon there's some collusion in there somewhere. All right. Who had a coffee? Who had a coffee or a cup of tea? Yes? All right, a cup of coffee, cup of tea. It was fabulous. And the only reason we had that is thanks to the wonderful people at Yandal Resources. Laurie Hughes, I know you're still here. Where are you, Laurie? Laurie? Where's Laurie gone? Maybe he's not gone. Oh, no. Wait. I've got another email here from Laurie. All right. So Laurie has said to me, Chrissy, I'm feeling exceptionally kind. I have drawn my prize and the person does not have to be in the room. I don't know about that, but let's see how we go. So the prize is probably possibly out the front at the moment. It's that beautiful bottle of Mauritian rum, that really lovely one. Yeah. Gold Special. It's called Beach House Gold Special. I love the label on it. It was a very sexy label, Jim. It's a very nice label. Gary Chandler. Is there someone here called Gary Chandler in the room? Yeah, I can redraw too. Okay, I'm not allowed to. Jackson's looking at me. So Gary Chandler has won that bottle and we will keep Gary's name. We'll get a picture of Gary and we'll put it up just in case it's not Jackson Crab. He's non de plume. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I can see that going pear-shaped. Oh, well, that was the last that was the last gift that I actually have to give out. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for all of our wonderful. And that is indeed it. So you've had some solid investment opportunities presented to you. I hope some of you do take them up. I'll be really interested to hear from you this time next year and see how those leads served you. And if you'll be putting on drinks on that first night or if it'll be Stewie putting on drinks on the first night. Travel safe. And remember, if you need any help with any of these investment opportunities, you can talk to the team at Canaccord Genuity. Kay, can you put your hand up? Kay's down the front still, and she would love to talk to you. So if you need any guidance, you can talk to Kay, you can talk to her colleagues, and they'd be more than happy to guide you in the right direction. We hope you've had fun, Rolly. We hope you've had fun, everyone. Justin, you've had fun with the prize. And we look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you so much, everyone, on behalf of Vertical.